Erev Tov Netanya. Good morning, Memphis. And greetings to America-Israel Friendship League friends around the world. It's Sunday, and it's time to take a peek into Israeli society in a way that you can only get here at the America-Israel Friendship League. My name is Wayne Firestone. I'm the executive director, and friendship is our middle name. And we like to look at our friends overseas and the challenges and opportunities that they face with a unique form of universal service that exists in Israel. We know them, we're proud of them. Today we're going to get to meet them actually inside an Israel Army base. And before I begin and introduce our panelists today, and the fascinating bases that they're calling in from, I'd love for anyone who has actually either visited or served in an IDF unit on a base and wants to share some love and good memories in the chat for the moment, just about where you visited and where that service was. Obviously, each one in each unit has its own sort of Ophi, its own character, and we're going to hear about two today that were built with a lot of love and built with a lot of character, and that really is very much our focus today. So we're grateful to have this opportunity and a sort of a peek inside. First and foremost, we have Lieutenant Colonel Tom Algart, who is the commander of Havat Hashomer Base. He joined the IDF and first served in the Nahal Battalion, and he won the Presidential Award for Outstanding Soldier in 2003. In 2008, he came back to the IDF in this particular unit that deals with education and youth corps. And he established actually a combat unit at the current location of Havat Hashomer. And we'll hear more about that from Tom in a moment. We're also joined by Major Liron Menashe Hersko, not Major General yet, but perhaps working on it. She is the commander of the Hebrew and Aliyah Department at Michve Alon Base. And she has also been the recipient of an outstanding soldier in the Manpower Directorate in 2012. And she'll have some interesting cross comparisons, having spent 4 years at Havat Hashomer as well. She's now the commander of the Hebrew and Aliyah Division at Michve Alon. And with both of them, you're going to hear a little bit about the unique insights of both bases. But first, maybe we could start on a little bit more of a personal introduction. Before we talk about the bases themselves, I'd love for both Tom and Liron, maybe if you could just share a little bit about your own background, Tom, and what got you interested in particular in serving in the education corps.
Yeah, sure. First, thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be here with you. So as you mentioned, I started my service at the Nahal Brigade, and after 4 years, I finished my service in the Nahal and joined the Special Forces unit in the police, where I found myself putting handcuffs on young guys and asking them one question: where do you see your life? A 16-year-old boy with a knife going to a club, and you put the handcuffs on him because you wanted to stop him from doing things that will hurt other people. And I usually ask them, what do you see yourself doing in the rest of your life? It came to this that I also was lecturing to youth before service about encounters that I had as a commander at the Nahal. And I came across the commander of Ma'arach Magen. It's the unit that combines Havat Hashomer, Michve Alon, and the Gedna. And he asked me to see if I want to try some different angle on handling with these boys. And he showed me Havat Hashomer. And in 2008, I saw Havat Hashomer for the first time. I was there still in the special forces of the police. And immediately I understood that this is my mission, this is my goal in life, change the lives of these young men. The soldiers who come to Havat Hashomer come from very difficult background, and I saw myself giving them a new path in life here through opening this course of getting into combat units. Combat units in the IDF is the tip of the spear. And when we look at how they go out to the civilian life, it's a game changer. It's a game changer in how you are perceived by the citizens in Israel. If you served as a combat soldier, even though if you had difficult problems before the army, it's a way to change your life, and that's what I wanted to do. I came here. We did that in 2009. I was a company commander also here. Made other stations in the education corps, and for the last 6-7 months, I'm the commander of Havat Hashomer. Very proud and very happy to be here.
Well, we're great to have you, Liron. It seems to me that you have to be someone who wears a lot of different hats at once. You have to help someone learn Hebrew, find a makolet, and also train to be a successful soldier. How did you find your path to this particular position?
Good evening, everyone. It's an interesting question. I think it started not now. It started even when I was a teenager. Right after high school, I was a shinshinit. It's like a gap year between the army and high school. And I went to Baltimore, Maryland. I was a shlicha of Jaffe, and I spent a year in Baltimore. And it was a magnificent year. I stayed with Jewish host families that I'm in touch with them until today. And it was a really meaningful experience for me. I learned what is to be a Jew abroad, what a community means, what it really means for people to want to make aliyah and serve in the army. And I think that I fell in love with those people who really want to serve and love Israel so deeply so they can leave their houses and their families just in order to come and join us, like the citizen to live here. And I think it meant so much to me. So I dreamt even back then to come here and do this job. And it's very, very interesting because I meet many different cultures. Like I can meet someone who comes from Ethiopia or India, and the same group and the same team, there will be someone who comes from the States or Canada or even Morocco. And it's so different cultures, different language. And my job is to make all of them to reunite and make them all part of the Israeli society. Not just to learn Hebrew. Learn Hebrew is just one mission, but actually make them feel that Israel is their home. Teach them history, music, culture, how we celebrate the holidays, like really make them feel belong. And I feel that it's a great mission. And I feel that in Hebrew, say shlichut is something that it's so, like a bit of tikkun olam, that is very important. It's actually really helpful, not just for these kids, not just for these soldiers. It's really helpful to the Israeli society.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that story about your Baltimore dreams leading to this incredible professional opportunity with you. We actually have a webinar on Wednesday with the chairman of the Safnut, Bougie Herzog. So we will whisper in his ear about the successful story of your particular shlichut. And I will be very cautious with my Hebrew, knowing we have a Ulpanista here that will be watching us very closely. So I think, Tom, we're going to start again, just to sort of give a visual orientation to our audience on a base where both you and Liron have served. And I think it'll help us open up some of the questions and discussion afterwards. And so Tom, any words of introduction on the video first that you want to say, and then we'll show people, several minute segment, to give a feel of the base.
Yeah, sure. What you're about to see is really what's happening right now outside of my office. You're going to see a few of the stories that the soldiers who come to Havat Hashomer speak about their personal life. You'll see the former commander, and you'll get a small angle on the lives of the soldiers and what Havat Hashomer is doing for them as a step between the civilian life, very difficult life, and the service in the military, in the army that is very demanding.
Great, we will cue that up.
Yeah, sure.
בזכות האמונה באדם. מה אנחנו צריכים בחיים? שיאמינו בנו קצת.
מחלקה 2 הקשבה אליי. כן, המפקדת! היא פותחת לכם 20 שניות אחרונות לדגם את עצמכם, לסגור את כל הכפתורים, לוודא שהחגורה בקו כפתורים, ובתום 20 שניות ג'ניה קיבל את הסמלת. הייתי ברורה?
כן, המפקדת! ברוכים הבאים.
זה מקום לבוא ישר להתחבק עם המפקד, לא, אתה יודע, לא להצליח. אני רוצה להגיד לך שאני מה זה מתרגשת להיות פה. עם מה אני מתחילה פה?
את רואה פה 4 גיבורים, שהיום תפגשו אותם, שכל אחד מאיתנו יכול ללמוד מהם. מה זה לצאת מבור מאוד שחור ואפל? גיבורים, אחד.
אהלן, נעים מאוד.
זה אורי.
איך קוראים לך?
אורי.
אורי? אורי מה?
תגבע.
תגבע.
כן.
נולדת פה באתיופיה?
באתיופיה בגיל חודש עליתי לפה.
וואי, עברת פה דרך, אה?
לא רק פה.
אני כמעט רוצה, אתה יודע מה, אני רוצה להתחיל איתך מהסוף רגע.
אוקיי.
איפה אתה היום?
היום אני בעורב, בגצר, צנחנים.
שלשם בעצם חלמת להגיע?
כן, להגיע להכי טוב שיש. מבחינתי זה הכי טוב שיש.
שזה חלום שלא היה אמור להתגשם.
בכלל לא, עד לא מזמן. למה
בעצם לא?
יש לי עבר מאוד עשיר, בוא נגיד כך.
במה?
פריצות, הפרת תנאים, סרטי ביומים, הכשרת שוטר, תקיפות שוטר. אבא נעצר, הורחק מהבית וכאלה.
למה? על אלימות?
כן.
כלפי אמא?
כן.
בזכות האמונה באדם.
משפט חזק.
משפט חזק, אה?
כן. כי סוף סוף שפטו אותי לפי מי שאני ולא לפי הניירת שלי. עד עכשיו בית ספר, כל הדברים האלה הסתכלו מאיפה באתי, כמה בתי ספר עזבתי, כמה העיפו אותי. לא רצו לגייס אותי.
בית אלים היה?
כן, בבית היה תמיד מכות, בלי קשר.
אלימות כאילו מצד אבא, כלפיך, כלפי כולם?
כולם נגד כולם.
לאן הלכת?
הייתי ברחוב, כל כיתה ט'.
מה זה ברחוב?
ספסלים, בתי כנסת, דשא, מה שיש.
מה אתה אומר? ובחורף?
גם, נהיים חזקים.
בסופו של דבר, אם לא החווה, אני לא יודע איפה הייתי המורסון, אני אגיד לך, כי אני ראיתי לאיפה כל מי שהייתי איתו הגיע, לא הגיע למקומות טובים.
כן?
אני לא רציתי לבוא למקום הזה בהתחלה, אבל אני מודה לאלוהים כל רגע שהייתי פה, באמת. הצבא זה הפעם הראשונה כאילו הלכתי עם משהו עד הסוף. כל פעם הייתי מתחיל משהו ופורש עוד לפני האמצע.
סיימת בית ספר?
לא.
לא סיימת בית ספר, סמים?
היה.
ועל הצבא חשבת בתקופה הזאת?
לא. רצית
להתגייס?
גם כל מי ששמע שבכלל קוראים לצבא אמר לי אין לך מה ללכת, אתה לא תשרוד, אתה יודע את זה.
מה שכנע אותך?
אמא שלי ישבה לי על הראש, אמר לי אתה חייב ללכת, לא משנה מה, אתה הולך.
אז מה המקום הזה נתן לך?
נתן לי הרבה לחיים בכלל. נשמע, קצת לקלוט איך הצבא עובד.
איך החיים עובדים?
כן, וגם
כאילו בחיים
ככה...
צריך משמעת, אה?
שים את זה בהרבה אכפתיות כזה. הרבה יחס אישי, הרבה עזרה בת"ש, מקשיבים. יש פה הרבה מעבר גם, כאילו. טירונות 02 אפשר לעשות גם ב3 שבועות, זה עושים חודשיים וחצי.
המפקדת, זה קבלת המפקדת, מחלקה! ימתחו להקשב 2-3!
אתה לומד על עצמך כל יום פה. כי פה המשמעת מאוד קשה. אולי לא קל פה, אולי מעצבן, מפקדות וכאלה, אבל באמת מיישר אותך במקום הזה. אתה יוצא מפה עם המון כלים. אל תאחל למסע קל יותר, אלא לכתפיים מתענות יותר.
שמי אמר את זה?
מפקדת שלי.
התחל לי פה ממש קשה. ליום ראשון הייתי בשוק, כאילו, באה אליי בחורה, אומרת לי, רד לשכיבות צמיחה. אמרתי לה, מה זה רד לשכיבות צמיחה? מת בכלל שתגידי לי.
ברור שיש את הפחד הזה שלא לחזור לפעם. אבל אני יודע שזה לא יקרה. אין מצב שזה יקרה. כי פעם הייתי לבד. היום אני יודע שיש לי גם עוד אנשים איתי, גם יש לי הרבה יותר כלים מאשר שהיה לי פעם.
אתה זוכר את המסדרים האלה?
בטח, שנייה אוכל. 2-3, יגיע לפה. לפעמים אני אומר, המקום חסר לי.
והיום איפה אתה?
היום אני בגבעתי.
מבסוט?
כן. זה לא כמו שאר החיילים, אתה יודע שאתה עברת תהליך מאוד ארוך כדי להגיע לשם.
קיבלתי פה 2 מצטיינים, על השבוע הראשון מצטיין מחלקתי, ובטקס סיום המצטיין פלוגתי. קיבלתי מכתב מהמשפחה, מאמא.
מה היא כתבה לך?
שהיא שמחה אחרי כל השנים האלה, שהיא רואה אותי עם אזיקים, עם רגליים, ידיים. בין בתי משפט, ככה, בהארכת מעצרים. שהגשמתי את החלום.
אני חושבת שכל אחד מהרביעייה שהיום דיברתי איתם, החיים שלהם השתנו.
כסף השתחרר אחרי שהוא היה לוחם בגבעתי, הוא בן אדם אחר. עוד הוא גם יהיה מפקד. אוי ואבוי אם הוא יעצור בדרך, כי יש לו התחייבות שהוא גם יהיה מפקד בדרך.
בעזרת השם, אתה יודע למי הוא עוזר?
לי?
למי שעוזר לעצמו.
ברור.
אלפי בני נוער מחכים לקבל את מה שאני קיבלתי. חוות השומר, כי כבר סימנו אותם כ-X כבר. מרגישים שאין דרך החזרה, כמו שאני הרגשתי. הרבה בני נוער.
Well, first of all, thanks to friends of IDF for sharing that really insightful and powerful video that gave us, some soldier stories in particular to get a sense of this. When I look at this, Tom, I guess the first question, it leads me to ask is, why is this a priority for the IDF? I understand why it would be a priority maybe for another ministry in the government, but the IDF's top goal is security. And why do you think this became a priority? Because it's not a new program.
Yes, it's not a new program. It's a 40-year-old program who started with Rafael Eitan when he was the commander-in-chief of the IDF. And Havat Hashomer is a part of a perception that sees the IDF is the People's Army. Rafael Eitan opened two programs in his time, two flag programs. One of them is Havat Hashomer. The other one, I don't know if you know it, it's Talpiot. Talpiot is the cutting edge of the top soldiers who are innovators and super smart. And you see the same commander opens two programs, two edges of the IDF, because he knows that you need the Talpiot to have a strong army, and you need Havat Hashomer. Havat Hashomer is the door for the youth who has difficulties in adjusting to systems, but every year 1,500 soldiers come through Havat Hashomer and join the IDF and give their contribution to the defense of Israel. We have soldiers in the best units, in the combat units, and in the intelligence units, because to have a strong unit is to have a diverse unit. And if you want a diverse unit that not all the soldiers think alike, but they give different perceptions of things, you need the soldiers from Havat Hashomer. And the IDF sees it now, and the soldiers of Havat Hashomer are encouraged to go to whatever option that they want when they finish here. They have great strength, and we encourage them to do a meaningful service in every unit that they see themselves fit. And we're very proud of our soldiers. That's just the. Yeah.
No, it was really interesting to hear the roots of the program, and your point that in thinking holistically about the society and the long-term sustainability of the IDF, that it's not merely everyone in the middle, but it's also people on both ends, including people who had, as we heard, a mark next to them before they started, where it would have been just as easy to say, okay, we let somebody else deal with them. And also in Talpiot, both of these programs require a lot of special attention, and we'll talk about that, because I think Liron, similarly, you've seen both of these programs up close, so maybe you can give a little bit of an introduction to the base that you're at and the program that you're running, and how that sort of differs and from the program that Tom described.
Yes, so Michve Alon is a base in the Galil, next to the Sea of Galilee, next to the Kinneret, and it offers many different programs to many different people. Actually, as a gate for, it's a beginning of a path for soldiers who just entered the IDF, immigrants and civilians alike, and citizens alike, from many different backgrounds. Some of them are youth at risk, exactly like the soldiers who come to Havat Hashomer, just girls, females. Some of them are Olim Chadashim, new immigrants, minorities, and also soldiers who want to get an high school diploma that didn't succeed to do that in high school. They can come to Michve Alon and actually get their diploma. The percentages are magnificent. The average in Israel is about 70% from the teens get their high school diploma, and the percentages in Michve Alon are 98%. 98% from the soldiers who come to Michve Alon to get a high school diploma get it, and it makes a huge difference in Israeli society. So here in Michve Alon,
Liron, I want to support what you're saying. The soldiers here from Havat Hashomer, we tell them that by the next step for them is to go to Liron, to go to Michve Alon, and to finish their high school diploma. It's a connection that we do every time.
And I think that you asked earlier, you asked Tom, that the army job is to protect the nation. So why actually Havat Hashomer exists? And I think it's different perspective. IDF the army of the people look at protection as something else, not just protecting the borders. It means to protecting the society. And when someone from Talpiot served next to someone from Havat Hashomer, and actually learn to accept the other, and learn what solidarity means and patience, that makes us a better society. That makes us to protect the country better. I think it's a different perspective. It's to reunite us all together as one society, as one nation. It makes us stronger, not just our borders stronger. It makes us as a nation, as a country, as a society. And I think this is what we're trying to do here.
Well, that one of our viewers, Meyer, just shared that to have a strong unit is to have a diverse unit. Could you both give an example of that when you saw either of your graduates or even during training, where you saw people who perhaps would not get together or be friends or be natural teammates in work, in school, in life, but through this process actually met very different people and succeeded to do things together that they wouldn't have were it not for this opportunity with the IDF.
I'll share that it's a great honor to see Liron here, because on my first tour in Havat Hashomer, it was with Liron, and Liron and other commanders like her. She was a commander here, and they come from a specific background. Let's call it like that. Okay, a very strong and very filled with good values, and they grow up in the best homes and everything. And when the commanders in Havat Hashomer meet the soldiers, sometimes for the first time they see this population that is living, in the radius of their home, but they don't meet these guys before. And when I see my commanders and how it affects them, and how it makes my commanders give a true value to the opportunity that they received, as they grew up, and they didn't know that it was such a privilege to grow in a safe home with a mother and father that loves you and hugs you and tell you that give you a safe environment, and now they know how to appreciate it. And when I see my commanders, when they finish their military service and they go out to the civilian life, you see that a lot of them will go to education. A lot of them will go to guide youth at risk. A lot of them will go and continue to contribute in these kind of areas of dealing with youth at risk. And that alone helps to create a stronger society, because these girls can go and be engineers and develop the new startup in Israel, but they choose to educate. They choose to make a difference in education, and that's a great thing that happens here.
I would like to answer that from a different point of view. So in my department, I can see people from many different cultures, and not just Olim. I also have minorities here that come to learn Hebrew, Druze, Bedouin, and even Christians. So sometimes in Israel, we can think about the minorities as one, because most of them are Arabs, but it's very, very, very wrong. And to put sometimes Bedouin and Druze at the same departments can be very, very problematic, because in their villages, they fight a lot and their families don't get along at all. But to see them here wear the same uniform and singing the Tikva in front of the same flag makes them understand that they are from the same mission, they are from the same goal. And knowing that back there at home, they won't say even hello to one each other. And here they can make the best, they can be the best friend because they know that they have something so strong in common. And a lot of them come here and volunteer the army. They don't even have to serve. And they volunteer because they want to stand next to someone that is different from them. They could stay in their villages just next to their own families, their friends, the people they know from the same culture, but they choose differently. They choose to mix with others, to mix with the Israeli society that is even so different from them, but they want to be part of something else, from something big. And a few weeks ago, I finished, they finished the course, and to see over 600 people standing on the course, singing the Tikva together.
Whoa. It looks like we have
I'll jump in.
You want to try to finish her
say,
sentence, Tom?
Oh,
there she
yes. Wait, she's back, I think. Liran?
So I'm again with you. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I said that it was very emotional to see over 600 people standing on the course, singing the Tikva together in many different accents, because they all want to be part of the Israeli society. That means more than anything.
Absolutely, and I think both of you from both of the examples, and from anyone that knows Israel, recognizes that because of the diversity of the populace and the many languages, the many backgrounds and traditions, you can either view that as a liability or an asset. And I think both of your programs clearly, and from its inception, really recognize, even though it might require additional resources and a different approach than dealing with everyone as the same, this idea of focusing in on individuals and individual communities and bringing them together has rewards and long-term return on investment for all of Israeli society. You know, for a moment, I just want to take a step back in thinking about where you are physically today. Now, I know, Tom, maybe when Rafi Eitan first having a base on a moshav was probably made a lot of sense. And I realize that whole movement has evolved and changed somewhat, but given that you have a base that was once or still part of a functioning farm, how do you tie that into your current activities, if at all?
Yeah, sure. So Havat Hashomer is an historic, has an historic and very important part in the history of the IDF. Here was established the Irgun Hashomer, the Shomer organization, who is really the grandfather of the IDF. If Hashomer created Hagana, the organization Hagana, and Hagana is the father, Hashomer is the grandfather, and the IDF is the son. And here was they worked and they worked the fields and collected the olives from the trees. Today we have over tens of trees, olive trees here inside the Havat Hashomer. And we encourage our soldiers every November. November is the time. If you grow trees of olive trees, November is the time in Israel to collect the olives. And the soldiers collect the olives and they take it to make oil out of it. And through working at agriculture, through working with their hands and providing taking out the oil out of the tree, you can see how the soldiers connect to physical activity and to see a product that you saw the olive on the tree. You do something and you make olive oil and you can put it on your hummus and take a bite. it's a great accomplishment of something that you do with your own hands. And here in Havat Hashomer, we focus on giving them success stories. You saw in the video that the guys were talking about they getting a diploma of excellency, and to make your own olive oil and to bring it to your home or to show it to your friends. It's a medal of excellency, and it's something that you do and you accomplish. And we encourage them to accomplish these things every time we can. Havat Hashomer is really an historic place, so the connection to the history, it gives you an understanding that you're doing something that is more or that is bigger than your own life. And when you do something that is bigger than your own life, you are automatically getting the strength to do something extra, not only to stay in your own sizes, but to go out of your skin and be a bigger man. And this is what we do here.
And Liron, you also have quite a obligation to live up to when you're on a base that's named after Yigal Alon. How do you see the current base sort of continuing that tradition and living up to its namesake?
Yigal Alon was a great educator. So I read the books about him, and I read his reading a lot. And I think it's a huge obligation for us. I think this year I become a mom for the first time. I'm a mom to Carmel. This week she's 9 years old, and 9 weeks. 9 months. Yes, exactly. She's tiny.
All right, we can still say Mazel Tov then if it's 9 months.
Thank you. She's the cutest thing that you will ever see. I can guarantee you that. But I think that as a mom, now I have a different perspective, and I'm very, very proud to belong to this kind of army and to Michve Alon that take care of these soldiers and take care of these citizens. And now I look at it differently. I think as a society, I look at the community differently, at education differently. And now as a parent, I can understand it. I can understand parents that send their kids into the army and want the best people, the best commander to take care of them. And I couldn't actually realize that before I become a parent, before I become a mom. And now that I do, I'm so happy to be part of this place with Yigal Alon legacy and with Havat Hashomer legacy, where actually when Tom spoke, I thought that Havat Hashomer is a place the dreams actually come true. Like the first Jews that hold weapons and protect the countries were Havat Hashomer. It was a dream back then that Jews will hold weapons and protect the countries. And now kids that no one believed in them, no one in their whole life, they come to Havat Hashomer, and there is one 18-year-old girl that changed their life, like really helped them to choose a new path. So it really makes me proud as an Israeli, as an officer, as a mom. I'm proud of our army.
Tom, there was a program that I read about on the website called Kirot Midabrim, Talking Walls. Can you share a little bit about the program and what you all have learned from that?
Of course. Just before, I want to say something about Yigal Alon, because you talked about him. And when I see Liron, I need to tell you, there is a sentence of Yigal Alon that says, I'll translate it to English. He was giving ranks to officers, and he gave the rank to the officer, and he says, the officer asked him about how to be a good commander, and he said, Yigal Alon said, I can give you the ranks, but the authority you need to get from your soldiers. And I think that whenever I see Liron speaking about how you need to be a commander, it's a great sentence that Yigal Alon said, and I think in Michve Alon they do it all the time. They see the soldiers, and they don't talk them only from authority, but in the same level. קירות מדברים is a great way to communicate to the soldiers without speaking. When we talk about education, we don't talk about only a frontal conversation. You need to deliver the message in different ways. קירות מדברים is talking walls. It's the way that we communicate to our soldiers through the walls of the base. Throughout the base, there are a lot of walls who are decorated with paintings and sentences that deliver a message. The location is important, the size is important, the exact words are important, because if you'll take the soldier who is very angry now, and he is disappointed of something that happened, and he takes his bag and he says, okay, I'm leaving the base, I'm going home, I don't care about anything. I imagine the way that he takes between his dorms, between his room and the gate of the base. And I see the way that he will walk. I wish that the commander could be there and walk beside him and convince him to stay, because I don't want to lose him. But sometimes she will not be there. And how can I deliver a message when he walks, he sees things with his eyes. And I want him to see something that makes him think positively about staying. And in another corner of the base, where I know that maybe sometimes soldiers think that no one sees them, I want them to see a mirror of themselves. I want them to think positive and give them positive messages to infiltrate the mind. And that's what we do. We paint the walls and we put out, we have just a new wall, just 2 months ago, we made a wall in the name of one of our soldiers. We painted him on the wall, and then we painted one of the sentences. And this is my way to give a model for the young soldiers of this other soldier who finished here. And this is how we combine art and psychologically, psychological thinking with education. It's a very nice way. I love it. I really love it.
It's a great way. I mean, let's call it for what it is. It's graffiti. It's something that's could be viewed as inappropriate, or it could be viewed as art. And in Florentine or in the Shuk, it's celebrated as art. And it sounds like you've all found a way to not only embrace it, but to use it as an opportunity to allow people to express themselves, as you said, not just in the spoken form, but in other forms. You
need to have you need to be very, very accurate about how you use it. And we use, I'm telling you, it's not only graffiti. I don't want to lower it, but it has psychological thinking, and we used the greatest mind that we could to shoot, to point it very well to where and what word and how it will affect the soldier. It has a lot of thinking behind it, and it's beautiful as a graffiti, but it has a great thinking behind it.
Understandable. Liron, how do you use the Ulpan and the fact that people are coming from, very, very different language capacities? How are you able, like what does a victory look like for you in terms of someone being able to integrate and, after coming through this program, do you have some people that just can't, they don't have the linguistic skills in order to be able to integrate, but they're doing well in other areas? It seems to me like you have to get them up to a certain level in all the different areas. And I'm curious where if indeed the language is the biggest challenge in that, or not necessarily.
So it's a very good question. I think it's very depends who the soldier is. I have some soldiers that don't know even to write and read it. And working with them it's very, very challenging. You can imagine they didn't go to school for years, very similar to Tom soldiers, and try to put them here for like 3 months. to sit all day in a class and learn is a very, very challenging mission. And I have other soldiers that can write and read, sometimes even in Hebrew, and they can speak, but I need to help them to improve their Hebrew a little bit more. So it's a very, very big range. I think this is the word for people to work with, and it's also very different to learn someone from Ethiopia, to learn them Hebrew, and learn someone from the States or Russia. It's a very different method of learning. First of all, I have the best commanders here. They're really the best, even more than Tom's. Sorry, Tom. So they're really, really great. They really, really believe in people, and they have a lot of patience. And they use great method. They use news and music, and very, very other things that interested the soldiers. And I think my goal is that I want them to go to the army and know how to make a good conversation with their friends and with their commanders, and go to the doctor and really be able to explain what their condition is. Go to the grocery store and know to ask what they want. Go to rent an apartment and know how to read the contract, right, and not and know actually do the basic things so they can be part of the society and do the army service in the best way. I think this is my goal.
So we had a couple questions coming in now. First of all, for both of your programs, if your programs didn't exist, would these people essentially be excluded from the IDF? That's question one. I think I know the answer to that. And two, what percentage of people who enter the programs ultimately graduate?
Okay, I'll start first. Approximately 20% of our soldiers are soldiers who had already were relieved by the IDF before entering. The criminal record, the drug abuse, the record gave them already a ticket out of the army, and they fought to come back to the army. And 15%, between 15 to 20% are people who were not able to come here to the IDF. And the others, without Havat Hashomer, they had to go and come to start military service with no preparation. When you leave school at age of 13 and use drug abuse and try to steal your food, and you enter immediately to a normal boot camp, the chances to survive are minimal. And this is why Havat Hashomer is so necessary for 1,500 soldiers every year. The percentage of success are close to 80%. It's pretty good.
That certainly is. Liron, how about on your end?
My percentages are very, very high, over 95% graduated from the course. And some of the people who leave the course is because they came here by mistake. Like their Hebrew is very, very good, so we release them to the army, they don't even need to be here. So it's a great, great, great success, and they really prove their Hebrew.
Let's see, Tom, there's a question about the origins of the program. I understand that at some point, Raful's program was actually discontinued at some point and then moved to the current base that it's at. Could you share any of that history? And a follow-up question about how the Army is able to keep any of any of the programs that it runs, how to insulate it from political pressures.
Okay, the history of Havat Hashomer is here, but one thing that have changed is the way that we help the soldiers after they finish here. When they finish Havat Hashomer, they go to the regular units Until a couple of years ago, we had Anaf Makam. There was a branch that only dealt with the soldiers after they finished here and until they finished their military service. They helped them with their commanders, and they helped them with any problems that came up. And today, this branch is no longer, it doesn't exist anymore. And we try to help them as much as we can. We have a new program that started just this, I think, 3 or 4 months ago, how we can help them along the way. That's the big difference that was made, but 40 years, Havat Hashomer hasn't moved, and we're not planning on moving anytime soon. Remind me that the question.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it was related to the same question, but how does the Army, and I guess this is a good week to ask during a political election, how do you stay isolated from any kind of political pressure or political influences, during an election year or otherwise?
It's easy. Even the election is 2 days from now. It's not a problem to answer because I'm sorry if I sound like I don't know, a hippie or something like that, but there is something that is a genuine good, that is perceived by everyone from left to right, up, down, as a great good, and to help soldiers, these kind of soldiers that come to Havat Hashomer, to Michve Alon, it's the same. It's perceived as everyone who come to Havat Hashomer and Michve Alon see it as a great good, and don't see it as anything that is hurting or stopping someone from developing. I think there were ministers here and great generals from other parts of the IDF and political persons, but everyone sees the Havat Hashomer and Michve Alon as a project that will have to continue. Just last week, there was a convention with the Minister of Defense and the commander of the IDF, Kochavi, and the Minister of Defense said that in his opening speech, he mentioned Havat Hashomer and said that this place, whenever he thinks about it, it makes him so proud that he's the Minister of Defense of Israel. And for him to say that to all the commanders, Lieutenant Colonel and up, to mention this unit and this unit only, it just shows that it's above all political issues.
Well, that's great to hear. And just a quick insight, maybe Liron, just when do the soldiers vote and the people in your program? Do they vote like everybody else, or is it done in advance? Do they vote on the base? I'm curious.
So we vote on the base in the IDF. We have two days. The first one was last week, and the second one is 2 days from now, like everybody else in Israel. So we vote on the base. We have a coffee here, like we go to a special room, put the envelope inside, and we take the old envelope, the old votes, we take them to Jerusalem to be counted like everyone else voted. So it's very emotional for us. Like it's a very a big ceremony. Everybody go and vote to be part of Israeli society and democracy.
The phrase that sort of sticks out for me that from the video clip we showed, as well as some of the comments both of you have made today, is the idea that you would actually come to this place to see dreams come true. So we're almost at the end of the hour now, and I'm curious if each of you could maybe share one story or one person that you worked with where you actually saw their dreams come true and sort of change the trajectory of their life because of this program, the programs you're involved with.
Yeah, I'll share a quick story about one guy, Moshe Zvedo. There's an article about him in the IDF paper. Moshe came here and he was arrested before joining the army in jail, in jail for youth, for trafficking and selling drugs. He was a big-time dealer before he joined the army. But Moshe, he was, of course, he was selling to finance the use. But Moshe decided to change his life, and he fought to join the IDF. He didn't have an easy life. The IDF told him, with your record, you're dangerous. But he fought to join the IDF. And when he came here, he told me from the first day, I want to be a combat soldier. Moshe made a great way here. He was a leader from the first day. Because when you're a big-time criminal, you have great leadership abilities. And he was a leader here, but he was a positive leader here. And he carried his team with him. And when he finished here, he joined our program for combat units. And when he finished it, he joined the Paratroopers Brigade. And today he's a sniper at the Paratroopers Brigade. And is a model for our soldier. And he changed his life. When he will go and meet the father of his girlfriend, he's not only Moshe was a drug dealer. He's Moshe the sniper and the paratrooper brigade. So that's a different way to go and meet your girlfriend's father. For me, as a father to a young girl, I say it's a different guy that I meet if he comes like this or comes like this.
Understand. Liron, you get the last word.
So I will tell a different story about a soldier that started here in Michve Alon. He came from the States and our neighbor, and really fought to be in a special unit in the army. And now he's in a special unit in the army. He's in Egroz, and actually he served with my husband's brother, younger brother. He served with him together, and he hadn't seen his family for a year and a half because of COVID-19. So it's been a while, and his whole team, he got permission to go to see his family, and he didn't know. His commander told the team, but he didn't tell the soldier. So the whole team bought him tickets together and surprised him with the tickets and told him that he's going to see his family after a year and a half. And I'm thinking about this soldier that started here in Michve Alon, that a few months ago, he was a total stranger in Israel, with no family, with no friend, and now he has a different family, now here in Israel, that served him together, that bought his ticket to see his real family in the States, and it really warms my heart. That this is what the army needs, this is what the army do. Take different people from different backgrounds, from different places, and actually make them family. And this is what makes us a better society.
Liron and Tom, this was really an amazing and inspiring insight into the IDF that many people outside of Israel have very little understanding of, and really from so many of the comments we've received from people around the world. Thank you for your service, for your leadership, for your dreaming, and enabling the dreams of others, the people that you're working with. Clearly, it has a huge impact on Israeli society, and is something we can all be very proud of. As I mentioned earlier, everybody knows what's happening on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, we have an amazing conversation as part of our webinar series in partnership with the Jewish Agency and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have the chairman of the Jewish Agency, chairman of the executive, Isaac Herzog, in conversation with Alon Ushpiz, the Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in a moderated conversation with the former Foreign Minister, Tzipi Livni. It should be a fascinating discussion because we have people in different time zones. Everybody during daylight savings times, we're still using Eastern time, noon, so it's the same time here in the United States. Please check your clocks and Outlook calendars and otherwise to make sure you tune in at the right time. For all of us here at America-Israel Friendship League, Shavua Tov, have a great week, and thanks again to our panelists.
Thank you all.
Yeah.